Good afternoon and welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for live streaming in with us wherever you're watching, hopefully on Rumble, maybe YouTube, X, Truth Social, our app. A lot of places you can watch us, whether it's live or on replay. Hopefully you had a great weekend. I know there's a lot going on in the 24/7 news cycle. Speaking of that, we are tracking numerous stories within that 24/7 news cycle. Let's first begin with the president's trip to Las Vegas last week.
Las Vegas is the home of the largest concentration of tipped workers anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, actually.
The administration is upholding the foundational principle that hardworking Americans should be rewarded with the fruits of their labor, not punished by tax hikes. And this tax season proves it.
With the passage of the great, big, beautiful bill, my wife and I have benefited from the elimination of taxes on overtime, allowing us to stretch every dollar in an increasingly expensive world. And thank you for your continued efforts to support the American people, especially here in Las Vegas.
I'm a makeup artist and a bartender here in Las Vegas. I just wanted to say thank you for all you've done for us. I know as a bartender, the no tax on tips is amazing, especially, I'm gonna start crying, guys, expecting mom. It's great for my daughter as well.
I just want to say that I'm grateful for your leadership because you recognize the critical role that families play. So thank you so much.
It's promises made, promises kept for you.
So on behalf of all the hospitality workers here in Las Vegas and Nevada, thank you for putting more money in the pockets of your families. Thank you.
So I just want to say this is a special state. It's a special place. And even this event, there's a lot of love. It's just such love.
All right, so that was on Thursday in the Silver State. Then, of course, the president traveled to the Grand Canyon State in Arizona on Friday. On top of that, Saturday morning, the Oval Office, President Trump there with a number of people, including podcaster Joe Rogan and many others, as he delivered an executive order there, specifically a titled video saying a breakthrough approach to mental health, as President Trump signed that executive order over the weekend. Let's check it out. Clip number 2.
I'm pleased to announce historic reforms to dramatically accelerate access to new medical research and treatments based on psychedelic drugs.
This executive order will remove the legal impediments that block American researchers, scientists, physicians, and clinicians from properly studying these medicines. We're also coordinating with the DEA and the Department of Justice to begin rescheduling reviews after successful phase 3 trials.
I think there's a lot of people out there that need help, not only our veterans, but our civilian population that can benefit from this.
These drugs are illegal not because they're harmful, they're illegal because of the 1970 Controlled Substances Act that was passed by the Richard Nixon administration. For 56 years, we've lived under those terrible conditions. We're free of that now. We're free of that now. Thanks to all these people that we see next to me, and thanks to President Trump.
Thank you very much for taking care of your service members and your veterans, and giving the members that have been working on this for so long a chance.
President Trump has delivered an epic victory for all humanity.
And that was Saturday morning at the Oval Office. If you missed any of that full event, we'll be airing that in the back half of our broadcast today in about an hour or so from now. But at the end of the day, let's switch gears to Operation Epic Fury, something that we saw President Trump speak about as well on Truth Social over the weekend. Operation Epic Fury, and we also have the latest on the Navy's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Here's an update from the United States Central Command. This is a lot of video and audio that you guys could check out as well, but we're bringing it together for you here on Right Side. Let's check out clip number 3.
This is United States Warship 115. You are entering the area of a military blockade. This blockade of Iranian ports will be enforced and applies to all vessels regardless of flag. Any vessel that further intends to enter or exit an Iranian port will be subject to the right of visit and search in accordance with international law. If you attempt to run the blockade, we will compel compliance with force. Over.
And the latest from CENTCOM here on X, U.S. forces operating in the Arabian Sea enforced naval blockade measures against an Iranian-flagged cargo vessel attempting to sail toward an Iranian port on April 19th. We saw President Trump speak about that. The engine room got a nice hole in it because of our U.S. Navy, showing them this is not something to mess with. So that video is also on the CENTCOM page on X, so you can check out all of that as we are just bringing you up to speed on Operation Epic Fury. Right now, no boots on the ground, but we have the blockade there on the Strait of Hormuz and the surgical strikes that we've been seeing over the past month plus happening there in the Middle East. So we'll monitor any new developments as they come into this newsroom. Meantime, let's do this. Let's go to California right now because we know that there are a number of people paying attention to the gubernatorial race there. In case you missed it, on Friday, I interviewed the Riverside County Sheriff and gubernatorial candidate Chad Bianco. Let's take a look. And joining us now is Riverside County Sheriff and California gubernatorial candidate Chad Bianco. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on Right Side.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Definitely. So we're about that 50-day mark from the June 2nd California primary. The question is simple. Why are you running for governor of the largest state in the union?
Yeah, because our state is broken, and our state is not broken because we're California. It's not broken because of our businesses and our residents and our beautiful beaches and our perfect weather. It's broken because of an absolute failed political agenda, one-party rule in Sacramento, over-regulation. It's killing our beautiful state. Californians are starving for someone that they can trust, someone that they can believe when that person talks, and just as importantly, if not more importantly, leadership. They're looking for leadership to lead our state into a better place where Californians are not being punished just for living in California anymore. And I watched as the people signed up for this campaign that I knew that it was either going to stay the same or get worse. And it got to that point where, well, who better than me to step in and make sure that we save our state?
So there's three things that I think we the people really love: freedom, a good economy, and safety and security. How can you, as the governor of California, help with freedom, the economy, and security?
Well, it's because the people of California are going to elect a sheriff that they've already trusted for all of those things to just run our state. So public safety goes without saying. I'm the expert in this arena on this ballot. Everyone else has to ask someone, hire someone, read a paper, do something. I've been living it for 33 years. We just have to make, you can't have a society, a free society, without an adherence to laws. You have to hold people accountable for victimizing us, for breaking our laws, and people are looking for that. They're looking for safety. We can enjoy the benefits of freedom. In order to be free, you have to be free from crime. And so we're going to make sure that happens in California. We're going to hold people accountable. And then really our business environment is being, our cost of living here, the amount that it takes to live in California is artificially inflated, purposely inflated by excessive regulations in this state. And as the governor, I'm going to remove all of them. We will abide by the same rules that everyone else abides by in the rest of the country, not be punished just for living in California.
Let's talk about the fraud. We know in Minnesota with Nick Shirley doing great work there. A lot of fraud, it looks like, in California. So you're going to be tackling that as well if you become the governor, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, we're learning that California government came out with a report that said California government is the most corrupt government in the entire country. The waste, fraud, and abuse here, they have already said, our own government, our own finance department said that we have the most waste, fraud, and abuse of any government in the entire country. And we see it. Nick Shirley came into this state in one weekend and found hundreds of billions of dollars in fraud, that now there's a bill in our legislature to punish the Nick Shirleys of the world for exposing that fraud. It's crazy what we're doing here, and we absolutely have to take care of it. Crime and corruption rules the day in California. Who better to send to Sacramento than the guy with the gun, the badge, and the handcuffs to clean all of it up?
Let's talk about freedom of speech, freedom of the press. To your point, I did look at some of that proposed bill in the California legislature. Actually, Nick Shirley's name's in the bill, I think.
Yeah.
You know, Stop Nick Shirley bill. So the point is, though, I looked at it, and of course, if there's anything to do with inciting violence or violent threats, no, that's against the law. You can't do these things. But then they were talking about if you're really basically going up to people and asking questions, and they're trying to call that harassment or something. Well, really, if you're asking a question as a journalist, whether you're known or not known, that is your freedom of speech. They're trying to mess with the Constitution. Hands off the Constitution, right, sir?
That is exactly right. And that is why, another reason why California is going to vote for the sheriff. The sheriff is actually one of the only constitutionally elected positions in this state. And I have sworn that oath to defend our Constitution, not only from foreign invaders and foreign interests, but also domestic. And we are finding now, especially in California, that our legislature absolutely despises our Constitution, whether it's our First Amendment rights, whether it's our Second Amendment rights. All of them are despised by the supermajority that we have in California, in our legislature and in our governor's office. And we absolutely, if we're in the 250th year of this beautiful country, we have to stand up for that Constitution that made it that way.
Final question, sir. Thank you again for joining us, by the way. Can you talk to us about the fact that there may be a Republican as the governor of California? I know that Arnold Schwarzenegger was the last time there was a Republican, but I think a lot of people are saying we want this to happen this time around again.
Yeah, we are. And the reality of California that most people don't realize is it's so bad because of Democrat rule since the 50s in California that every 20 years we elect a Republican governor. And we are now at that 20-year mark. It's been 20 years since Governor Schwarzenegger was elected. And things are far worse than when he was elected. And people are looking for that Republican governor to come back in and right some of the wrongs that have been, orchestrated against us in the last 20 years.
Riverside County Sheriff and California gubernatorial candidate Chad Bianco, thanks again for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And coming up in just a minute, Trump-endorsed candidate for California Governor Steve Hilton joins the broadcast. We'll also take a deep dive with Kate Monroe and Kira Davis on the California gubernatorial race. At the end of the day, a Republican as the governor in that state would be awesome. And so we're looking forward to seeing one of these two hopeful candidates get there. But at the end of the day, just full transparency within journalism here. Similar questions for each candidate here on the broadcast. Meantime, let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN. If you look at mypillow.com/RSBN, you'll see that you can save up to 80% with the warehouse moving sale. Always good to save money. Always good to have some quality products. You get that with mypillow.com. The great Mike Lindell, speaking of gubernatorial races in Minnesota. So Mike Lindell in Minnesota, you have Andy Biggs in Arizona, and many others across the country. But that California race, just the fact of a Republican getting back into that state house there in Sacramento would be quite awesome to see. All right, let's go to RSBN when it comes to donating to the network. If you'd like to donate to us, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. Again, rsbnetwork.com/donate. As we grow, as we expand, as we all that traveling, Robert McNeely and our crew just getting back from Arizona from Friday's trip, all costs a lot of dollars, of course. But hey, it's great to cover it for you guys here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, it's 1:15 Monday, April 20th. We have a lot to get to, including let's go to another candidate running for California governor, someone endorsed by President Donald J. Trump, Steve Hilton. Here's that interview right now. Joining us now is California gubernatorial candidate Steve Hilton. Thanks so much for joining us, sir.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
Definitely. All right, so we're about 50 days away from that June 2nd California primary. How's the campaign going, as of course you have the full endorsement of President Trump?
Gosh, don't remind me, 50 days, wow. I better get a move on. So far, so good, I think is the story. I'm leading in all the polls. The lead seems to be growing. We're leading on fundraising, apart from a certain billionaire climate fanatic called Tom Steyer, who's put $120 million of his own money into it, trying to buy this election. Otherwise, we're there. We're ahead of the pack. We've spent nothing yet on advertising, yet we're in one poll this week, nearly 10 points ahead of Tom Steyer and everybody else. I'm feeling very good. We're up and down the state the whole time. We're doing town halls under the theme of our campaign, Cal Affordable, making our state Cal Affordable, $3 gas, cut your electric bills in half, your first 100 grand tax-free, no more free healthcare for illegal immigrants, a home you can afford to buy. So people are really responding to that. I get a sense that this year we really could pull it off and have an upset victory in November, not just in the primary, but in the general election against whoever the Democrats choose to run against me, because this state is desperate for change after 16 years of Democrat one-party rule that have been a total disaster.
Exactly right. So let's start with the genesis of what was the inkling that had you go with this decision to run for governor of the largest state in the union. What was it that drove you to do this?
Well, as many people may know, most of my career has been in business. I've always had a kind of practical problem-solving attitude and brought that to the various businesses I've started and run. But I've also had experience in government, working back before we moved here in 2012 with my wife and my two sons. I was senior advisor in the UK government to the Prime Minister David Cameron, helping to lead the implementation of our domestic policy reform program. And so putting those two things together for a number of years here, people may remember me from my time hosting a show on Fox News, which I greatly enjoyed and appreciated the opportunity. But most of my career, I've been a doer, actually making things happen, making change happen. So I wanted to get back into that. I started a policy organization a few years ago called Golden Together, looking at the problems of California and developing solutions. And as I was working on that, in particular, as I started encountering Sacramento and how totally broken and corrupt the system is in our state, I just got more and more frustrated with that. And in the end, I don't know, maybe a year and a half, so I can't remember exactly when it was, decided, right, I'm going to go for it myself.
And it's great to have you as part of the pack running for governor, because we need a Republican, of course, in California. And as you know, sir, we the people love freedom, a great economy, and security. So as governor, how would you advance the conservative agenda in the Golden State with freedom, the economy, and security?
You're 100% right. And I think that's one of the saddest things about what's happening in California. Obviously, you can look at the facts of how disastrous it's been. The highest poverty rate in the country, the highest unemployment rate of all 50 states, the highest cost of living. That's all true. But actually, there's something deeper which upsets me so much, which is they've crushed the soul and spirit of California with this massive, bloated, nanny state bureaucracy, telling everyone what to do, bossing us around from morning till night, how to run your business, how to raise your kids, what car to drive, what kind of house to live in, how to cook your food, on and on. And that's the heart of what we need to change, to just massively cut back this bloated nanny state bureaucratic government, the regulations and the taxes, exactly as you say, to set people free. And then the amazing natural advantages we have in California will thrive and flourish, and the economy will grow again, jobs will be created, and businesses will be moving back to California instead of leaving.
Always good to see something like that. And I'd like to get your thoughts, sticking to the freedom agenda here. The Stop Nick Shirley Act that was introduced by a leftist in California. Can you believe that is something that they're trying to, that's going right against the Constitution, isn't it?
Well, this is what you get from a corrupt regime that's in its death throes. They are so arrogant. They are so out of touch. They cannot even see how ridiculous they look when you've got someone who's exposing the theft of taxpayer money by this Democrat machine. And we've been doing it too. I set up a couple of months ago, Cal Doge. We've been doing fraud reports. You've got James O'Keefe. You've got Dr. Oz, the vice president's fraud task force. So many people now, CBS News even, finding fraud and corruption on an absolutely massive scale in California. Our estimate at CalDOGE is $425 billion over the last 5 years. Instead of actually doing anything about it or saying, right, that's gone too far, we want to save money, even as Democrats to say, we want that money to be going into services for the public or welfare. I don't even care what it is, but they don't even care enough about that to understand how outraged people are about the fraud. And instead, they just want to cover it up. It shows you that Democrats in California now officially are the party of fraud. And that's why it's never going to change until we kick them out.
Before I get to my final question, how important is freedom to you personally, to you and your family? I did some research, and it seems like you come from that place of freedom.
Very much. And it's really personal for me because my parents are Hungarian, and they grew up in a communist country, and then they escaped communism. 1956, the Hungarian Revolution, the uprising against the Soviets, crushed by the Soviet tanks. So we understand very, very deeply what it means. My stepfather, also Hungarian, literally fled across the border in search of freedom. And then I grew up in England, which is obviously a free country, but under socialism until Margaret Thatcher came to turn it around. And now it's going back to socialism. And so I moved here in 2012 with my wife, my two sons, in search of freedom, the ultimate home of freedom, which for me should be California. I sometimes say California means to America what America means to the world. And that's the heart of what's gone wrong in these 16 years of one-party rule. They've tried to just extinguish that flame of freedom in California. But boy, are we going to reignite it when I win in November and take office next January.
And you lead me to my final question. Can you actually believe we're talking about the possibility of a Republican governor, possibly you, once again in California?
Well, I can believe it because I've always believed it. I've always believed that it would be difficult, not an easy battle at all. But since when has anything worthwhile been easy? I mean, that's the story of America. We go for amazing things, even when they're difficult. And it's a very un-American attitude. I say this as a proud American, a new American. It's a very un-American attitude to believe that California can't be turned around and it's going to be Democrat forever. I know we can do it. We've got some particular advantages this year. We've got a majority of Californians think the state's going in the wrong direction and needs change. We've got massive turnout drivers on the ballot for the Republicans in November. We've got a tax proposition and especially voter ID on the ballot. We've got a disastrous crop of candidates on the Democrat side. I mean, look, you've got the billionaire climate fanatic Tom Steyer or Katie Porter, for goodness sake. That's the choice. You've got all this fraud that is making people so angry with what's been going on. The conditions are right for a real revolution in California against the system, our rebel spirit coming out, and we're going to kick them out and restore California to its glory. As I say, make our beautiful state truly golden again.
This would be quite the change of power from a Gavin Newsom to a Steve Hilton, California gubernatorial candidate Steve Hilton. Thank you again for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Great to be there. Not least, you're going to have a governor with less hair, and I think it's about time we had that.
That sounds like a plan. Thank you, sir.
Good to be with you. Thank you.
All right, great to catch up with the Republican gubernatorial candidates in California. In just a minute, we're going to have some analysis from Kira Davis and Kate Monroe, two Californians as well. So today, a little bit of a California broadcast, but of course, it's the largest state in the union and a huge story as we approach that June 2nd primary. Before we get to all of that, let's go to a few of our sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, including All Family Pharmacy. Have you ever gone to refill a prescription and then suddenly it's delayed or out of stock or more expensive than last time? Well, here's something most people don't realize. More than 400 of the most common prescriptions for blood pressure, cholesterol, thyroid, diabetes are actually available through All Family Pharmacy at great prices and shipped straight to your door. So you don't need to worry about your insurance or pharmacy lines. There's no hassle. So we've been recommending All Family Pharmacy for a reason. They really built something different, an independent American pharmacy that actually works for the patient. They also carry medications like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, NAD+. These are all hard to find anywhere else. The process is straightforward. If you already have a prescription, your doctor can send it directly. And if you don't have one, you fill out a quick online form on their website. Then a licensed doctor reviews it, and if appropriate, they provide the prescription and your medication ships to your door. So it's simple and affordable. Don't wait until you need something. Just be prepared. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use the RSBN 10 promo code to get 10% off. Let's also go to Cove Pure, another great sponsor here at Right Side. You've heard us talk about Cove Pure before, and if the water scares in Flint, Michigan, and East Palestine, Ohio weren't enough to get you to make the switch, well, this might. More than 176 million Americans are drinking tap water with PFAs in it. They're man-made chemicals used in food packaging, non-stick cookware, firefighting foam. Scientists are calling them forever chemicals because once they're in your body, they stay there. They don't break down, and they're linked to hormone disruption, immune damage, and increased cancer risk. But here's the part that should make you and yours upset, because the EPA set legal limits for PFAS in drinking water back in 2024, but water systems have until 2031 to comply. That's a whole 5 years from now. And until that deadline arrives, a utility can be operating above the legal limit right now and isn't required to notify you. So you're just drinking that tap water, and that's why every single household needs this right there, Cove Pure. The government knows these chemicals are harmful enough to regulate. They're just not making anyone act on it quite yet, which means if you want clean, healthy water, you're going to have to do it yourself. Cove Pure was engineered exactly for this. Unlike the normal pitcher filters that you see at the store out there, their Clearwave reverse osmosis technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So those PFAs, the heavy metals, fluoride, pharmaceuticals, filtering particles hundreds of thousands of times smaller than a single human hair. And the best part about Cove Pure is they make it so easy. It sits right there on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call someone in to install it. You just plug it in. You can even get whatever temperature water you want, hot, cold, or warm, with a tap of a button. So don't wait until 2031. Take control of your water quality right now. Head to covepure.com/RSBN. And because you're a viewer of this broadcast, you get $250 off right now. That's covepure.com/RSBN. Two great sponsors here on this Monday, April 20th. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Matthew Alvarez. This is RSBN Live. We've been on the air for about 28 minutes so far. If you just missed it, we interviewed the two Republican leading, I would say, out of any other Republicans running right now in California. Of course, Steve Hilton. President Trump endorsed Steve Hilton for the California governor position. And also we interviewed the Riverside County Sheriff, Chad Bianco, who's also running for governor in California. Now, to break down some more about both candidates here, let's first start with Kira Davis, who is a host of the Orange Report, of course, for Orange County out there in California. So let's go with Kira Davis right now. Host of the Orange Report. We're going to go to Kira Davis, who's joining us now live once again. Kira, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure. Good to see you, Matt. Happy Tax Day.
Yeah, happy tax day. It's hard to say that, but this time around, it's easier to say that, right?
I live in California. No, it's not.
Well, no, exactly. So let's talk about California. I know that your state, you have nearly 40 million residents. It's the largest state in the union, even more populous than Texas. And I understand gearing up the gubernatorial race right now that Eric is gone. You have Chad Bianco, the Riverside County Sheriff. You have Steve Hilton, who has a long resume, both Republicans. Who are you going for and why as we start this debate on which one will be the governor?
Well, it's an uphill battle for either of them to be the governor, first of all, because they are both Republicans. And we have a very strange primary system here. We have a jungle primary, which means it's a top two battle. It's nonpartisan, so we don't have party primaries. The people who receive the most votes in June, the top two people, will move forward. And so it's been impossible to get a Republican to poke through in the primaries, but this might be the first year we do it. Steve Hilton, and he's my candidate. I have known Steve for 10 years now, and I've known his love for California and his love for America. And so I was thrilled to support him when he got in. Chad Bianco, as you said, the Riverside Sheriff, is a strong candidate and a strong law and order candidate as well. He doesn't have nearly as much name recognition as Steve or backers. And the polls are showing Steve Hilton after, you might be interested to hear this, after the Eric Swalwell disaster fiasco, we've had our first polls, fresh polling be released, has been released. Tom Steyer, the Democrat billionaire, has seemed to have sucked up all of Eric's votes. But Steve Hilton also was propelled to the top of the pollings. Fresh polling today has him at 26%, above Tom Steyer at about 22%. Chad Bianco is all the way down in the single digits at 9% right now. I think that's how the field is going to shape out. We'll see. We have, here in California, I think it's like $1,000 to register to run for governor. We have 60 people on the list, yeah. So, but there's really 7 top contenders. So we'll see if some of those lower polling Democrats drop out. I expect them to, and then we will really see the race condense.
Exactly. And we've had Kate Monroe here on the broadcast, and her candidate is Chad Bianco. But at the end of the day, we have 2 Republicans, Steve Hilton, Chad Bianco. If Hilton wins and gets into the Republican primary, or if Chad does, a lieutenant governor situation, maybe Hilton, Bianco, Bianco, Hilton. You never know, right? Hey.
It can't work that way because lieutenant governor is a separate position and you have to run for it. And you have to file for it. Filing is over. Ballots are being printed. Lieutenant governor. We have a great Republican candidate for lieutenant governor in Gloria Romero, a Democrat who walked away. She is a legendary California politician, walked away for Trump because she was such a Trump supporter. And she's on Steve's ticket, actually, but running separately as a lieutenant governor. So that's not a possibility, but there could be a possibility for either of these men to share, cabinet positions. I would love, to be honest, looking at the polling, Chad can't poke through. The worst he can do is probably split that vote. But he could lend his support to a winning campaign.
So we'll see what happens. And we have interview requests in to Steve Hilton, to Chad Bianco, getting that worked out. And also for Kate Monroe, of course, she's almost like your counterpart. You both are Republicans, conservatives, but, still, at the end of the day, a Republican governor in the state of California. Is this something that a lot of people are talking about right now? Is this something or is it a pipe dream, really?
It's not a pipe dream, not this year. If you had asked me 2 years ago or 4 years ago, I would have said yes. Now, I want you to remember, Matt, I was on your show actually talking about the LA fires a year ago and talking about how it really changed the mood of Californians because a lot of those people who were affected, it was sort of the last of the donor class for Newsom and for the California Democrats. So the mood here has shifted. Spencer Pratt, former reality star, is running for mayor in Los Angeles, and he is killing it. Yes, we do have a possibility to elect a Republican governor, but I want everyone to understand what happened to Eric Swalwell this past week is because of this race. To my mind, it's because of Steve Hilton. He is polling towards the top. He's polling above everybody, which is incredible. And so what has to happen because of our jungle primaries is the Democrats can't afford, right, Chad Bianco to surge and then take that second spot, and then we have 2. They can't afford that. It is the worst possible situation for Democrats is for California to go red because as everybody knows, Matt, as everybody has been witness to over the last couple of months, we see that California, we're the king of fraud here. We're the king of financial fraud, government fraud, federal aid fraud, and voter fraud. And this state feeds a lot of the corruption, probably almost all of it, in the rest of the United States, particularly when it comes to Washington, D.C. So if this state flips red, the gravy train shuts down. This is like DEFCON 4 for the Democrat Party. They absolutely will throw everything at these 2 candidates. And that's why they tanked Swalwell, because Swalwell was leading he was leading Steve with 46%. And if Swalwell and Steve Hilton had gone through, all the Hilton campaign had to do, and all that research has been out there forever. Conservatives have been reporting on it forever. Just the press didn't pick it up. But then all that would have come out and Hilton would have sailed to victory. So that was definitely a Democrat operation to take Swalwell out. They are panicking, and that's a good sign for Republicans in California.
Oh, it would be beautiful to see it. It would be beautiful to see, whether it's Steve Hilton, Chad Bianco, whoever. Looking forward to hopefully seeing a governor that is on the right side of history out there in California. Now, I know that you just launched your show, The Orange Report, for the county there, Orange County. Can you talk to us about some of the stories that are happening right now that may have a little bit of a national kind of exposure or interest?
Thank you, Matt. Well, we have a lot going on here in Orange County, which is why I chose to do a show Orange County based, because a lot of what happens here is what's going on in the United States. One of our biggest stories that we just finished working on was these beach landings that we have had, where illegals are landing their boats on the beaches. And we're hosting the Olympics in 2028, supposedly. So we don't know how that's going to work. Now the Border Patrol was able, after our story, was able to work with the mayor there, and they got a situation set up where they'll be monitoring the beaches more. And we're very proud of that. But we've got other things going on here. Biggest thing, though, I think, and it's not just here in Orange County, but everywhere, is voter fraud, election integrity. We have one voter ID measure on the ballot for the state. We're trying to qualify two. So we're waiting to see if the second one qualifies. So if the first one doesn't, look good to voters, maybe the second one will. We're just trying to cover the spread. That one's already qualified. That's going to change the game. Here in Orange County, a woman registered her dog to vote in the 2022 and 2024, two elections, 2022 and 2024. The dog did vote. The vote was counted, and we're finally digging into that. Turns out this lady was a Republican trying to make a point. She's still going to be prosecuted anyway. But here's the thing that is really hilarious, Matt. You're going to get a kick out of this. Our Board of Supervisors, which is the governing body for your county, heard about that story, and they were asked to support a resolution to purge the voter rolls of non-human voters. That's what one of the conservative members said. Let's just forget about the controversial stuff. Let's just purge the rolls of non-human voters. We have proof that there's at least one dog on our voter rolls. And the Board of Supervisors voted against it. They voted against it. So I want to encourage everybody, find out what's going on at your county Board of Supervisors. Every county has one. It might not be called a Board of Supervisors. It might be called a council, but every county has one. That's the most powerful governing body in your county. It's the one closest to you. Remember, Donald Trump didn't shut down your schools and businesses. Your county did that to you. Your local government did that to you. If you don't know where to start, go to a meeting and just pick one. School board, city council, just pick one. It will change your life.
It's so wild to see all of that, Kira. And specifically, I had one other question on my mind that I have to ask, or at least a statement to bring up. You said that there were illegal aliens that were coming up with the boats onto the beaches there. President Trump refers to it. He goes, 98% of the drugs or the illegal immigrants coming in by water have been taken care of. But it's that 2% that I was wondering about. It might be that in California. But the point is, we saw how conservative media or conservative voices spoke up, and it got national attention, and the Border Patrol acted on it. We have about 20 seconds. Just your reaction on that.
It matters to stand up. It matters to tell the truth, even when the whole world is against you. Think about how many people blew the whistle on fraud for years and years. And then one kid with an iPhone and determination came along and amplified all that. And now we're all talking about it. It matters that you stand up and tell the truth, even when it's unpopular. Stand on the truth, because the truth will always be honored eventually. So make sure you're this is the era of accountability, Matt. So let's all get in the game. We can't depend on one man or one politician. You are the cavalry.
And the truth will set you free. Kira Davis, host of the Orange Report out there in the Golden State, California. Kira, good to see you. Thank you so much.
Good to see you, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, coming up next, we'll go to California once again. Kate Monroe, the CEO of VetCom, speaking about a number of topics in California as well. So we'll get to that in just a second. Let's go to calshe.com/RSBN first. A lot of different trends going on today on this Monday, April 20th. We'll read along here if you'd like, calshe.com/RSBN. When will traffic at the Strait of Hormuz return to normal? People are saying before May 15th, 42% are saying that. Before June 1st, 62%. How long will the government shutdown last? At least 100 days, at least 95 days, various percentages for each. They're at about 60, between 60 and 70 days is how long the DHS shutdown's been going on when it comes to that partial government shutdown. The U.S.-Iran nuclear deal, when will DHS be funded again? So a lot of different questions here. Will the SAVE Act become law? A lot of people saying no on Kalshi, putting their money on the line for that, but also checking out the polls. Of course, it would take a lot to get the Save America Act passed, in my humble opinion, because you have to have 51 votes to use a nuclear option. And it looks like we don't have enough Republicans that want to do that. And it might just go for debate and it's just going to fizzle away. That's what I think will happen, but who knows? We're monitoring. We'll see what happens. A miracle could happen. We believe in those. Also, let's go to rumble.com as well, or at least Rumble Wallet. A number of people just started using Rumble Wallet. I recently downloaded it in my app store as well. And if you've ever been curious about buying and investing in crypto, or Bitcoin, stable coins, or even gold-backed stable coins, but felt like it was just too complicated, Rumble Wallet is an easy way to get started. You can buy, sell, and manage your cryptocurrencies all in one place, and the app is super straightforward. What really makes Rumble Wallet unique is that you can use it to tip our favorite creators or your favorite creators like this network here and others out there, and support the Freedom First community we've built here on Rumble. Getting started is simple. Just download the Rumble Wallet app, sign up with your existing Rumble account, no need for a new login, and then you just complete a few security steps and you're set up in just a few minutes. You can start with just a few dollars, and with MoonPay, which is a new feature built into Rumble Wallet, you can easily buy crypto using your credit card, debit card, or bank wire. So if you've been thinking about the advantages of crypto, you can download Rumble Wallet right now. Click our link in the description or search Rumble Wallet in your app store. Download Rumble Wallet today and move your assets to where they belong, in your hands, in your control. Now, Rumble Wallet is a technology provider only and not a custodial service. You can see terms at wallet.rumble.com. Rumble Wallet, great sponsor here on Right Side. Great to see that you can download that app right now. Check it out. And it's 1:43 as we continue our coverage here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We have a lot of news to get to. We've been talking about a number of stories, specifically in the Golden State, for the past 44 minutes, 43 minutes as you see on the clock there. But just a quick 20 seconds, I have to give a shout out to one city in America, Buffalo, New York. Those of you that enjoy sports, a big congrats to the Buffalo Sabres for that playoff win last night in New York. The crowd went wild last night. They went ahead to beat the Boston Bruins. That's just game one, though. So monitoring that because it's fun. And anyway, Buffalo, good job. All right, so let's do this. Let's go to President Trump's most recent Air Force One press gaggle. This is from about 48 hours ago. This is clip number 7 as we continue to monitor the news within the 24/7 news cycle.
Mr. President. Hello, everybody. Nice to be with you. We're landing pretty soon. We had some pretty good news 20 minutes ago, but it seems to be going very well in the Middle East with Iran. We'll know over a little period of time. We're negotiating over the weekend. And as you know, we have the blockade. The blockade's been very successful. And of equal success has been the 5 weeks before the blockade. The combination was pretty lethal, I would say. So we're going to be knowing very shortly. But we're talking over. I expect things to go well. Many of these things have been negotiated and agreed to.
Sir, what was the good news that you had 20 minutes ago?
Having to do with Iran.
Can you tell us anything about what you...
But you'll hear about it.
What are you going to be
I just think it's something that should happen. It's something that only makes sense to happen. And I think it will. We'll see what happens, but
Sir,
I think it will.
Have you agreed to...
You told me on the phone earlier that everything has been agreed to. You told me earlier that everything has been agreed to. Iran was saying something different. So what has been worked out in that time?
What say something different because, you know, they have people that they have to cater to also. I really don't. I'm just doing the thing that's right. I'm just saying it like it is. And we have a situation, I think, that is going to be very beneficial. And the main thing is that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. You cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon, and that supersedes everything else.
Are you personally the one that's making these negotiations? Are you personally the one that's making these negotiations move forward? Is it you?
I have people representing me, but I'm the one that makes the decision.
Sir, in the Strait, there have been reports that the Pentagon's preparing for military action in Cuba. Are those reports true? Is Cuba next?
Well, it depends on what your definition of military action is.
Would it look like Venezuela or Iran?
It does. It depends on what your definition of military action is, as Bill Clinton would say. You understand that? No, a lot of people don't understand that.
Sir, on the Strait, your 9 a.m. event tomorrow, what are you planning to announce?
Well, we have something tomorrow, and it's a little bit of a surprise. I think it's a very positive thing, something I feel strongly about. Somebody's coming to the White House who's very good, very smart, very caring, a person that cares a lot about the country and beyond. And so we're going to have a news conference tomorrow, a little unusual. Saturday morning.
About Iran?
No, well, it will be. Ultimately, everything's about Iran, I guess. It all morphs into Iran. You're going to be asking questions. But the Iran thing is just going well. Tomorrow is unrelated, but it'll be a form of a news conference. And I think it's going to be something very good for our country.
Do you feel like something at the White House when this all does end, when you are able?
We'll have a party. It would be great. Hey, we've been pushed around by Iran for 47 years, but not anymore.
Mr. President, when you say that Iran has agreed to turn over their nuclear dust, what does that mean? Are they destroying their nuclear material? They're turning it over. Can you walk us through what that process looks like, sir?
We're taking it. Very simple. We're taking it. Yeah. With Iran. We're going in with Iran.
Does that mean U.S. boots on the ground to get that?
I don't call it boots on the ground. We'll take it after the agreement is signed. There's a big difference before and after. BC. It's before and after.
Sir, in the Strait, are there going to be restrictions?
After the agreement is signed, it's a lot different than before. We would have taken it. If we didn't have an agreement, we would take it. But I don't think we'll have to.
Sir, in the Strait, are there going to be restrictions and tolls managed by Iran for ships and vessels passing through?
No way.
None at all?
Nope.
No restrictions?
Mr. President, you talked about FISA, Mr. President.
Restrictions, yeah, there'll be restrictions. You can't do the tolls. No, they're not going to be tolls.
On FISA, Mr. President, Anna Paul Luna is pushing to have the Save America Act linked to FISA in the FISA renewal.
Well,
Are you in favor?
Right. And I'd love to see that. The Save America Act is so important. It's so good. It's voter ID. It's, basic. It's your basics about a democracy. Voter ID, birthplace. You have to be born in the United States to vote. We have no transgender. We added no transgender mutilization of our children. Very important. No men in women's sports. Now, we added that. Also, we talk about the top three. And we put as the three having to do with the vote. We also have no mail-in ballots other than for the military, etc. If you're sick, the military. If you're away, if you're disabled, any of those things. It's pretty generous, actually, but mail-in ballot, the tremendous cheating that goes on with mail-in ballots. So we would have no mail-in ballots except for those various exceptions.
Mr. President, did the ceasefire in Lebanon need to happen for you to get to a deal with Iran?
It's not really tied. But you could say maybe psychologically tied, but we're going to help Lebanon become a country again. It's been a long time for them. They've gone through a lot, and we're going to help them be a country again.
And then, are you frustrated with Netanyahu? While you were negotiating the ceasefire in the last round, was his action bombing Lebanon, did that impact peace talks?
We disagree on some things, but he's been a very good partner. We did a good job. There's probably never been anything like it. He says we were the senior, and we are the senior. We're the senior to everyone. We're the greatest military in the world. I built it in the first term. Didn't think I'd be using it this much, but we have the greatest military in the world, greatest equipment, greatest. When you look at it, we had 101 to 111, depending on your definition, because some were two. They came out in twos. Missiles shot at a certain very valuable asset of ours that happened to be sitting on the water. Every single one of those missiles was shot down. Think of it, 111 missiles. Every single one of them was shot down. Never even got close. And nobody has a military like this. Nobody has equipment like this. Nobody has the power that we have.
So you said that the U.S. was going to take the nuclear dust from Iran.
Yeah, we didn't
What's
make
the
a deal.
time? What's the timeline on that? How long will that
take? You want me to give you the time and date and everything else?
Is it like you've negotiated
If we
how long that
obviously, I'm not
process
going
will
to give
go
you the
on?
time other than if we sign the agreement, then I can give you a time somewhere after the signing of the agreement.
And
we'll
will
go
it
in
involve
with
the US
Iran.
military?
We'll go in with Iran and we will take it together and we will bring it back, 100% of it, back to the United States. If we don't do that, we will get it in a different form, in a much more unfriendly form.
And that unfriendly
but in
form,
any
would that
event,
involve war?
excuse me, but in any event, we'll get it. Go ahead.
If you don't have a deal by Wednesday when the ceasefire ends, will you extend the ceasefire or will you start attacks again?
Maybe I won't extend it.
Okay.
But the blockade is going to remain. But maybe I won't extend it. So you have a blockade, and unfortunately we'll have to start dropping bombs again. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. I think it's going to happen.
What about the UFOs, Mr. President?
All right, so the president's latest Air Force One press gaggle, which was about 48 hours ago. We're going to monitor some of the latest news as we started at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Thanks again for joining us. Let's go to some of our sponsors here on Right Side. The question is, have you ever gone to refill a prescription and suddenly it's delayed or out of stock or more expensive than last time? Here's something that most people don't realize. More than 400 of the most common prescriptions for things like blood pressure, cholesterol, thyroid, diabetes are actually available through All Family Pharmacy at great prices and shipped straight to your door. You don't need to worry about your insurance, no pharmacy lines, no hassle. We've been recommending All Family Pharmacy, of course, for a reason. They built something simply different. An independent American pharmacy that actually works for the patient. They also carry medications like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole. How about methylene blue or NAD+? These are all hard to find anywhere else. The process is straightforward. If you already have a prescription, your doctor can send it directly. And if you don't have one, fill out a quick online form on their website. Then a licensed doctor reviews it. And if appropriate, they provide the prescription and your medication ships right to your door. So it's simple and affordable. Don't wait until you need something. Just be prepared. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use that RSBN 10 promo code for 10% off. Speaking of money indirectly, let's go to Birch Gold Group right now. When the dollar's convertibility into gold ended in 1971, gold was fixed at $35 an ounce. If you fast forward to today, the US dollar has lost more than 85% of its purchasing power. Gold, on the other hand, has increased in value by more than 12,000%. That's why central banks are buying gold at record levels. And here at RSBN, we encourage you to consider diversifying your savings with physical gold from Birch Gold Group. But it starts with education. Birch Gold just announced their Learn and Earn Precious Metals event. This free online event rewards you for learning the basics of investing in precious metals. You can sign up to get free silver on your next purchase. And you get even larger incentives as you go. The more you learn, the more you can earn. But you must act now, as this special event only runs through April 30th. So about 10 days now. The dollar lost its anchor in 1971. You don't have to lose yours. So just text the word Trump to the number that you see there on your screen, 989898, and you'll get a free info kit from Birch Gold Group. But also, you'll be joining Birch Gold's Learn and Earn Precious Metals event. Text Trump to 989898 today. All right, we're approaching the top of the hour here on this Monday, April 20th. Again, hopefully you had a great weekend, as there's a lot going on in the 24/7 news cycle. Let's continue our California coverage when it comes to the gubernatorial race in the Golden State. Speaking of gold, VetCom CEO Kate Monroe provides analysis on the gubernatorial race there. Let's go to California once again. To California, VetCom CEO Kate Monroe joining us from the Golden State. Kate, thanks again for joining us on Right Side.
Glad to be here.
We are 50 days away from the June 2nd California primary. We know we have this gubernatorial race happening. We have the Riverside County Sheriff, as you know, Chad Bianco. We have Steve Hilton, Trump-endorsed Steve Hilton, running for that position. Where do you stand on all of this? As we just interviewed Chad, and we'll be interviewing Steve a bit later. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I've been pretty clear to say that I'm supporting Chad. I think that we're in a season of lawlessness here in California. And included in that is homeless, drugs, lawlessness, fraud, theft, grift, all of that type of stuff. So for me, I would like to see a law and order candidate get in and run our state. So for me, he's the clear winner. It is interesting to note that while President Trump did endorse Steve Hilton, I don't know that that's going to help as much here in the state of California. I actually have some thoughts that might have been purposeful. I don't really know. But here in San Diego, they had a vote, and all the delegates, they voted for Chad in greater number, even though Trump endorsed. So I don't know, maybe the most important endorsement here in California is from Californians.
So we'll see what happens there. And to your point, and to the viewers, transparency, because that's what our job is here in the media. If you are fair and honest, and so I have to be obviously fair and honest and say that Kira Davis, who we had on the broadcast last week, is supporting Steve Hilton, saying the polls are much higher in his favor, but it depends on which polls you look at. And Kira shared with us a number of reasons why she thinks Steve Hilton's the right guy. So this is what we'll do. I'll air both interviews, both from Chad Bianco, Steve Hilton. I'll air your interview again, Kate, next week, and Kira Davis, and just let the people decide. Because at the end of the day, Kate, a Republican as the governor of California, it could happen again. How much momentum do you see happening there for that actually to be the outcome?
Well, I mean, the interesting part is that the story started here much earlier. If Gavin Newsom didn't do such a piss poor job and absolutely ruin our state, they probably wouldn't have a chance, just given the nature of California, the people that live here, the ideology here. But because he did such a poor job, people said, okay, I don't know if we can handle financially any more of this. So everybody, not just the right, started looking for something else. That's why you're seeing, Steve Hilton and Chad polling so high. So I think it's amazing. It's a breath of fresh air. And, even in the last presidential run, you saw the right side of California really sweeping a red wave across the state. And I'd love it to make it to the shoreline.
On top of that, have you heard of the Stop Nick Shirley bill? My wife actually spoke to me about it earlier today. She's like, I heard it on a podcast. I said, you have to, I asked her, I said, send me a link. I need sources. Is this true? There's a Stop Nick Shirley bill that has been introduced by some leftist lunatic out there on the West Coast. Stop Nick Shirley. What are you talking about? Do you know about this?
Oh, I know all about it because I follow California politics pretty closely. It's interesting to note that it's actually the wife of our AG is the one that put up the Stop Nick Shirley Act. I mean, if that's not enough reason to go, I wonder if there is so much fraud and grift here that the two of you are trying to do your very best to keep it hidden. He went after Chad for, going after these votes. She's now trying to stop us even being able to do investigative journalism. If that's not the most anti-American thing I have ever heard, but it's the Wild West out here in California. You never know. It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're getting.
Exactly. And that's unfortunately because really the people, all of us, the majority of the country are common sense, God, family, country type of people. And that's the way it should be. That's the majority of our nation. That's what we were founded on. You have that beautiful American flag right there as we're getting ready to celebrate 250 years young in this nation. And isn't that the way it is? Do you see a lot of people in California that are just saying, you know what? Yeah, we are fed up with the whole Gavin Newsom thing. And there are a lot of great patriots just in that state alone.
Well, I mean, I've told you several times, I'm married to a liberal Democrat, atheist, Turkish immigrant, and even he's tired of this stuff with Newsom. I mean, he and I were joking about the train to nowhere, just all the money. He goes, I think we could have spent it on any other thing. I mean, like maybe solve any problem in California instead of building a fake train. So I think not only are people just, even on both sides, tired of it, what you're seeing is a big sweep of patriotism. I don't know if you've been covering recruiting. Patriotism has taken a big uptick across the nation and certainly here in California. And I absolutely just love that for us. I love to see all the trucks with the flags waving, driving around San Diego.
Yeah, same here. I love it too. Every time I see it, wherever I am in the country, whether it was on the campaign trail with the president over the years or just in general, whenever you see the red, white, and blue, whenever you see a pickup truck, whenever you see any kind of truck or vehicle, people just supporting our country. It really does bring that patriotic pride. And that's something I think that the mainstream media and the leftists, they just don't want to see that. They almost want to make the American flag a terrible symbol for our country when it is actually Old Glory and the greatest symbol across the world, no?
Well, every time I see a flag waving and I hear it crack in the wind, I expect to see an eagle fly over and fireworks. My grandma's birthday actually was 4th of July. She used to tell me they put on that whole show for her. But, growing up and then becoming a Marine, patriotism is a really big deal to me. In fact, I'm trying to make a foray into movies, in the movie industry. And I heard a bunch of people in LA say, well, maybe we can't go to Kate's premiere because she's too political. So let me get this straight. You can be political and you can beat the drum of whatever you believe. But me, who fought for our country, I would have laid my life down for you. I can't say how I feel. That is an issue. And I think that squashing that will bring us all closer.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're seeing here with people like yourself and others out there that are speaking truth and speaking, representing light in darkness. Yeah. So let's talk about the Save America Act. I can't stop beating that drum because you know what? At the end of the day, we need, obviously, to save America. But 51 votes. It takes 51 votes to say, let's end this filibuster. 51 votes, the simple majority, to then have it passed in the Senate. President Trump signs it into law. 51 people. There's 347 million people across our country, Kate.
I love that 51 people control it for all the rest of us. But you got to question yourself. Why would you not want to sign it? Is it because you're worried about not getting elected again? You're worried that if these people aren't on the voter rolls, that you're not going to get elected. You're more worried about losing your own power, that you're not willing to do what's right for your country. You have no business being in office. And I will say this, they're going to pass it. It always happens. So all this grandstanding and gaslighting is all for show. It's political theater. And you're doing massive harm to regular, everyday Americans that have these jobs that can't even go to work.
Last topic. It's a topic I don't want to talk about. It's back to the gubernatorial race. Yeah. I really don't want to say the next thing. I don't. But it might happen this way. It really might. So 2028, 2029 rolls around. Hopefully we have somebody on the right side of history at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, a Republican, right? Outside of that, what if Gavin Newsom somehow gets in there? But then in California, we have a Republican in the largest state in the union, the roles reversed. I don't want this to happen for the White House, but that may be what happens, no?
We've really lost our way if people are that easily beguiled and lack that much discernment that you could end up with Gavin Newsom as president. You know me, I'm going to lean all the way into ensuring he doesn't become president. I will put all of my weight there. I will be doing all the political stuff necessary to keep him out. But it's a sad state of affairs when an almost literal snake, very Satan-like, can be so easily beguiling that you look at his white teeth and his slick hair, and that's enough. They don't have to do anything. They can just be an oligarch forever and be horrible for the nation, and people will still vote for him because he's attractive. I've never found a man attractive that folds their legs all the way across their knees that way. That's not really the kind of man that this patriot lady's looking for, but it would be a sad state of affairs. Either way, I hope we end up with a Republican here in the state. And I just want to, wrap this thought up to, if it's not Chad, just because I'm supporting Chad on the front side of this, and I'm doing that because nobody stood up for me when I was running for Congress. People are like, oh, we're gonna abstain. We're gonna wait it out. I don't want to wait it out. If that's what I believe, I want people to understand why Kate believes that. If it ends up being Hilton, I'm going to throw my weight behind him as well. I want to make sure that somebody right-leaning gets in. I will do everything. I will arrive on their field violently on their behalf and ensure that they get in, no matter which one it is.
Of course, figuratively speaking there, specifically when we talk about Gavin again.
Kind of figurative.
Well, yeah, if we don't pass the Save America Act, then, we have to
better chance.
Talk about, exactly. So when we look at the,
yeah. 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 Well, I think that one of the number one reasons it needs to pass is because people already have such a low belief in the fact that these voting systems are fair at all. It's very easy to believe with all the fraud, waste, and abuse and all the other grift and just outright lies, like what's going on, with Chad trying to count these votes, 45,000 extras cast in just one small area, extrapolate that across the nation. You need to pass it so that people on both sides understand who really won. They really did win. You can lay it to rest that night. And even if you don't like that person and want to say they're not your president, you realize they in fact are. And you don't have to wonder if it was real or not. And that's one of the biggest things that we need to restore in this country is to give that power back to the people. They understand my vote does count. And we did win.
Free and fair elections is the name of the game. Kate Monroe, VetCom CEO, and also military veteran. Thank you again for your service. Thanks for what you're doing out there for the right side of history.
Thank you.
And if you're just joining us now, feel free to replay the first hour of this live stream broadcast as I interviewed Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco and Trump-endorsed gubernatorial candidate Steve Hilton. Of course, both Bianco and Hilton running for governor in California as Republicans. Once again, that was within the first hour of our broadcast from 1 to 2 o'clock Eastern Time. In the meantime, let's go to a few of our sponsors before we continue on with our live broadcast. As you see there, Plan Select, one of our great sponsors here. Are you getting all of the benefits you deserve from your Medicare Advantage plan? That's the question. Many people don't realize their plan may include valuable extras that can save them thousands of dollars every year. All you have to do is call the number you see on your screen, 877-664-8133. This is to see if you qualify. With the right Medicare Advantage plan, you could receive a gym membership at no cost to help you stay active and healthy. If you need a ride, many plans include transportation services with up to 60 rides per year to your doctor's appointments or pharmacy. Some plans also offer meal delivery programs with up to 28 meals delivered each year at no cost, perfect after a hospital stay or when you just need a little extra help. You may also qualify for an over-the-counter allowance of up to $800 per year for everyday essentials like vitamins, first aid supplies, cold and flu medicine, dental hygiene products. And that's not all. Certain plans provide a grocery card with up to $3,600 per year to help pay for healthy food and household essentials. So go ahead and call 877-664-8133. This is to see if you qualify. Again, the big question, are you taking advantage of everything your plan offers? Licensed agents will review your options and help make sure you're getting every benefit available to you. Call 877-664-8133 to speak with a licensed Medicare Advantage plan agent. Let's go to one of our other sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. You see Tax Network USA. Even though April 15th has come and gone, we know that it's still tax season. And there's a few questions for you. Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, or have you filed every year but still keep owing? How about did you retire and suddenly get hit with a tax bill you didn't expect? Or are you a business owner with messy books and a balance you just can't afford? Or maybe you pulled money from your 401k or IRA early and now the IRS wants its share. However your tax issue started, the outcome is always the same. Your balance, it's just not going down. Penalties grow, interest compounds, and many of you are probably about to owe again for this upcoming tax year. Many not in that case, specifically because of President Trump's working families tax cuts. But regardless, if you missed any of the filing and you have a bunch of questions, you can call 877-479-6503. Of course, the IRS, they're not waiting. The IRS is enforcing collections through wage garnishments, bank levies, property seizures. They can even file for you without your consent. But this is where Tax Network USA comes in. With over 15 years in business, there hasn't been a tax case they haven't seen or resolved. They specialize in things just like this, tax controversies, and help taxpayers nationwide get back on track by resolving back taxes and unfiled returns once and for all. So whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their team has resolved over, get this, $1 billion in tax debt. They can do the same for you, but you have to call now. And they're also offering a free investigation call with the IRS. So after that investigation, they put a clear case plan in place. This is to resolve your tax problem and get you back on track. This is about using your legal rights to take control before the government sets the terms for you. So don't wait for another IRS letter or a frozen bank account. Just call 877-479-6503. That's 877-479-6503. You can also visit tnusa.com/RSBN. Or for those watching on Rumble and YouTube and X and all over the place, you can always click that link as well. Tax Network USA, it's still tax season. Of course, tnusa.com/RSBN. All right, it's 2:11, Monday, April 20th. Thanks again for live streaming in, and a shout out to those of you that are in the chats on Rumble and on YouTube and anywhere else out there watching. Thanks again for doing so. In case you missed it, President Trump signed an executive order over the weekend, specifically Saturday morning. Here's that event in full.
Bobby's a very unusual person. I said, when is the news conference? He said, Saturday morning. I said, I don't know. Has that ever happened before? Well, it's an honor, and it's very important what we're doing. So, as you see, and you know a lot of the people behind me, they're tremendous professionals, medical professionals most, and some military, like Marcus, some great military professionals too, real hero. Today I'm pleased to announce historic reforms to dramatically accelerate access to new medical research and treatments based on psychedelic drugs. In many cases, these experimental treatments have shown life-changing potential for those suffering from severe mental illness and depression, including our cherished veterans. Our veterans are having a tremendous hard time. You know, the suicide rate, we have it down a little bit, but they are having a hard time. And I got a call from a number of people, including the great Joe Rogan, and he said, we have to do something about this. And I looked into it. I called Bobby, I called Oz, I called Marty and Jay, and it was uniform support. And I said, so why would we wait 3 or 4 years to get it done? Or 10 years, frankly. Let's get it done immediately, and that's what happened. This has probably never been anything happen so quickly. Everybody is so strongly in favor of this. It's for a lot of people, but it's for our military in particular. The suicide epidemic among veterans is a national tragedy. Since 9/11, we've lost over 21 times more veteran lives to suicide than on the battlefield. So we lose, think of that, 21 times more. And today we're bringing them new hope. I think you're going to see a big difference and a big reduction in that number. I want to thank Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's a fantastic, where are you, Bob?
Over here.
He always makes it difficult. He's done a great job, too. And people love him. And more importantly, your wife is here someplace, Bobby. She's out there. Where are you? Where are you? The real boss in the family. It's fantastic. Thank you very much for being here. As well as FDA Commissioner Marty McCary, CMS Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz, NIH Director Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. See how easy that name is? You know, it used to give me a little trouble. That was a tough name. Congressman Morgan Luttrell, who's a friend of mine and he's a real war hero. He knows something that a lot of us will never find out about. Retired U.S. Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell, the two of them. I don't know what's in your blood, fellas. You guys are good mom and dad.
My mom and dad.
Yeah, good somebody. Good to have you. Joe Rogan, who's a fantastic person. We did a little interview before the election. We had over 300 million people. And I said, oh man, I hope Kamala doesn't do it. And she didn't. He wanted her to do it, but she didn't. Someday Joe's going to explain why. I could tell you why. But along with many other, because she didn't want to, with many other veterans. And I just want to thank the people behind me are outstanding. It's an amazing group. The executive order I'm signing, we're actually signing the executive order today, is really a moment. It directs the FDA to expedite their review of certain psychedelics already designated as breakthrough therapy drugs. They're very much being discussed. It's one of the hottest things I think you're talking about, Oz, right? It's nothing. If these turn out to be as good as people are saying, it's going to have a tremendous impact on this country and other countries too. These treatments are currently in the advanced stages of clinical trials to ensure that they're both safe and effective for the American patients. And the nice part is we're actually doing this early, but it has been going on. Research has been going on for quite some time. But, you know, usually with things like this, nothing ever happens, no matter how the research ends up. But we're changing that. This order will clear away unnecessary bureaucratic hurdles, improve data sharing among the FDA and the Department of Veterans Affairs, and facilitate fast rescheduling of any psychedelic drugs that become FDA approved. And we think many of them will go very quickly. And I have to say the most favored nations pricing that I established, has been knocking the cost of drugs down by 50, 60, 70, 80%. And I also want to thank you and Bobby for the great job you've done. It's incredible. The press refuses to write about it. I think it's probably as big as what we're talking about today. The drug costs are going down and by the way, Trump RX, which is the way you go to get your very low cost drugs. But when you think in my first term, for 28 years, drug prices went up, and I got it down 1/4 or 1/8%. I was so proud of myself. It's the only one that in 28 years got them down. And I had a news conference to explain how great I was. I said, I'm the greatest there ever was. I got it down 1/8%. Okay? I was very proud because it only went up. For 28 years, it went up. Now I got it down a little bit. And now I got it down 50%, 60%, 70% with these guys. So now I am, you know. But nobody wants to write about it. But it doesn't matter because the people have found out and they're getting, you know, we're the highest, we were the highest in the world by far. Sometimes would be 10 times higher than other countries. You'd buy a drug, I call it the fat pill or the fat drug. You'd buy it in London, you'd buy it for $10 for a pill, let's say, or a pill generally, but actually to be specific, London, $87, New York, $1,300. I said, how can that be possible? How can it be possible? $87. And actually a friend of mine called me up and he said, you know, he's a very rich guy, and he happens to be on this Ozempic, I guess, at the time. And it was not working, by the way. The guy was extremely successful, but highly neurotic, got a lot of problems. I will not mention his name. He's begging me not to mention it because he's become quite famous. He's a big factor here. But he's very smart, very rich guy, very, very successful guy. And he said, hey, President, he used to call me Donnie. Now he calls me President, sign of respect. He said, I'm in London. I bought this stuff for $87. In New York, I pay $1,300. What's going on? I said, well, that's the way it is. We pay the highest prices in the world. And it sort of hit me that how ridiculous it is. Made, by the way, he checked it. He had a whole big research done on it because he couldn't believe it. Made in the same factory, same place, everything was the same except the price. And now we are the lowest price. We are tied. In other words, whatever the lowest price in the world is, that's the price we pay. That's a tremendous difference. So we'll be paying, they go up a little bit. So the 87 will go like to 120 and we'll go down from 1,300 to 120. So we'll have these massive price cuts and they've already started.
All right, so we're going to go back to President Trump here in just a minute. Let's go to a couple of our sponsors. In the meantime, there you see All Family Pharmacy right there. Have you ever gone to refill a prescription and suddenly it's delayed, out of stock, or more expensive than last time? Here's something most people don't realize. More than 400 of the most common prescriptions for blood pressure, cholesterol, thyroid, diabetes are all available through All Family Pharmacy at great prices and shipped straight to your door. So you don't need to worry about your insurance, no pharmacy lines, no hassle. And we've been recommending All Family Pharmacy for a reason. They built something different, an independent American pharmacy that actually works for the patient. They also carry medications like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, bendazole, methylene blue, NAD+, that are hard to find anywhere else. The process is simple and straightforward. If you already have a prescription, your doctor can send it to All Family Pharmacy directly. If you don't have a prescription, fill out a quick online form on their website. A licensed doctor reviews it, and if appropriate, they provide the prescription and your medication will ship right to your door. Simple and affordable. Don't wait until you need something. Just be prepared. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use that RSBN10 promo code to get 10% off your order. Let's go to our next sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, Birch Gold Group. When the dollar's convertibility into gold ended in 1971, gold was fixed at $35 an ounce. If you fast forward to today, the U.S. dollar has lost more than 85% of its purchasing power. Gold, on the other hand, has increased in value by more than 12,000%. That's why central banks and others out there are buying gold at record levels. And here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, we encourage you to consider diversifying your savings with physical gold from Birch Gold Group. But this whole thing starts really with education. You got to know what you're getting involved in, right? Well, Birch Gold just announced their Learn and Earn Precious Metals event. The free online event rewards you for learning the basics of investing in precious metals. So if you sign up, you get free silver on your next purchase. You get even larger incentives as you go. So the more you learn, the more you can earn. But you must act now because this special event only runs for the next 10 days until April 30th. The dollar lost its anchor in 1971. You don't have to lose yours. You can text Trump to 989898. To join Birch Gold's Learn and Earn Precious Metals event, also you get that free info kit. Birch Gold Group, there it is, right there. Another great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're going to get into some of President Trump's latest Truth Social posts in just a minute, but in the meantime, let's return to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue from Saturday morning.
And I think it's one of the biggest things, but unfortunately the press doesn't like to talk about it. But because if I were a Democrat, it would be headlines all over the place. But so I do that. That's why I like live television, actually. It's great because you can't do any cutting. But we're so honored by that, and that's going to have a huge impact on this also, because the pricing, not only is it important, but the pricing is going good. And you're going to get the rescheduling done, right, please? So will you get the rescheduling done, please? You know they're slow walking me on rescheduling. Okay, you're going to get it done, right? In 2024 study from Stanford University, 30 special operation veterans with traumatic brain injuries underwent, it's called ibogaine treatment. Ibogaine. Remember the name. Is that pronounced relatively properly, would you say?
Yes.
I don't want to get it wrong. Ibogaine, because it's so important, and experienced an 80 to 90% reduction in symptoms of depression and anxiety within 1 month. Can I have some, please? I'll take it. I'll take whatever it takes. I don't have time to be depressed. You know, if you stay busy enough, maybe that works too. That's what I do. In Texas, Republican leaders have already committed $50 million to the ibogaine research, and today the federal government is making a $50 million research investment in its own, and so that was just approved just last night. We're also opening a pathway for ibogaine to be administered to desperately ill patients under the Right to Try law. That's a law that I started and I got, Right to Try. Very proud of that. Was done in my first term, and I used to marvel at the fact that people that were terminally ill could not get a drug. They're terminally ill. They're going to die, and the FDA, right, Marty? That's right. Jay? The FDA was protecting them from dying, but they're going to die. And so we have these incredible drugs, and they may work and they may not work, but we wouldn't let anybody get them because they were bad for your health. But these are people that were going to die. And it never made sense to me. So one of the first things I did early in my term, and it was very tough to get, actually, hard to believe. It was very tough with Congress, but they came through. The Republicans came through. And we have something called Right to Try. And we've saved thousands and thousands of lives. That's if you're terminally ill or very ill, and there is a new drug that is not available because it's going through the process of the FDA, and Marty's cut that process down by 50%. We're down, it used to take 12 years, and now we have it down to 5 or 6 years, and it's one of the most important things that you can do. But if you're terminally ill, and there's a new drug that may work or may not work, but it hasn't been approved yet, you sign a document, and you're not going to hold the country liable. You're not going to hold the drug companies or the insurance companies or anybody liable. And you have the right to try. And what it's done, and nobody wanted it. The insurance companies hated it. Even the doctors, they were all afraid of it because they didn't want to be sued. but I took all of the liability out of it. You sign a document, you're not going to sue the doctor, you're not going to sue the hospital, you're not going to sue anybody, including the country, and everybody signs it like immediately. And we have tens of thousands of people on this, and we've saved thousands and thousands of lives. And what it has done, we never thought of it so much as, but what it has done is, in some cases, these drugs are working so good, it literally cures people that were terminally ill. But it's one of the things I'm most proud. I'm proud of a lot of things we've done, but that's one of the things we're most proud of, right to try. But I've always believed in ensuring that the American patients have access to breakthrough treatments and therapies with love for our veterans. And I have real love for our veterans. I was with a group yesterday. It's incredible what they've gone through. And care for American patients. Today's order will ensure that people suffering from debilitating symptoms might finally have a chance to reclaim their lives and lead a happier life. You know, just lead a happier life. They've been through so much. So I'd like to ask Secretary Kennedy to say a few words, followed by Commissioner McCary, Marcus Luttrell, Joe Rogan, and anybody in the group that would like to speak. You're tremendous people. I know many of you, and you're really highly respected people. And the Luttrell family is well represented, but I don't mind having both Luttrells. Both Luttrells can say a few words, okay? Great people.
And we'll get to those next speakers in just a second. Of course, we're going to go over some of President Trump's Truth Social posts. As we've been on the air since about 1 o'clock Eastern, we went over a number of the stories that we're tracking, but also let's go to Cove Pier. You've heard us talk about Cove Pier before, and if the water scares in Flint, Michigan and East Palestine, Ohio weren't enough to get you to make the switch, well, this might. More than 176 million Americans are drinking tap water with PFAS in it. They're man-made chemicals used in food packaging, non-stick cookware, firefighting foam. On top of that, of course, tap water with the horrible aftertaste. Scientists call these chemicals forever chemicals because once they're in your body, they stay there. They don't break down, and they're linked to hormone disruption, immune damage, and increased cancer risk. But here's the part that should make you and yours a bit upset, because the EPA set legal limits for PFAS in drinking water back in 2024, but water systems have until 2031 to comply, so that's a whole 5 years from now. Until that deadline arrives, a utility can be operating above the legal limit right now and isn't required to really notify you. So you're just drinking that water. That's why every single household needs Cove Pier. The government knows these chemicals are harmful enough to regulate. They're just not making anyone act on it quite yet, which means if you want clean, healthy water, you're going to have to do it yourself. So Cove Pier actually was engineered exactly for this. Unlike the normal pitcher filters that you see at the store, their Clearwave reverse osmosis technology is actually certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So those PFAS, the heavy metals, fluoride, pharmaceuticals, filtering particles, hundreds of thousands of times smaller than a single human hair. And the best part about Cove Pier is they make it so easy. It sits right on your countertop. So you don't have to drill any holes or call someone in to install it. You just plug it in, and you can even get whatever temperature water you want, hot, cold, and warm, with the tap of a button. So don't wait till 2031. Take control of your water quality right now. You can head to covepier.com/RSBN because you're a viewer of this broadcast. You get $250 off right now. That's covepier.com/RSBN. Awesome sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm a big fan of those products as well. Big fan of all of the products, but that one there, you know, there's some people that say that they are a blank snob. Well, I'm a water snob. I got to have the good stuff. I don't want tap water with the aftertaste. Not good. Anyway, let's do this. In a little bit, again, we're going to go to some of President Trump's Truth Social posts, but let's go back to the president from Saturday morning.
So, Bobby, do you want to start it off, please?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, and thanks to the leadership of President Trump for making this historic day possible. Under the executive order, HHS will accelerate research, approval, and access to new mental health treatments, including psychedelic therapies such as Ibogaine. We're taking this decision, this decisive step, to confront one of the most urgent public health challenges facing our nation, the mental health crisis. More than 14 million Americans live with serious mental illness, and 1 in 4 adults experiences a diagnosable disorder each year. Suicide has risen by more than 30% over the past 2 decades, with another peak in recent years. Among veterans, more than 6,000 die by suicide each year since 2001. We have lost far more veterans to suicide than to combat. At the same time, millions of Americans living with depression, PTSD, addiction, and other conditions do not respond to existing treatments. We owe it to our warfighters and veterans to turn over every stone to alleviate the emotional and mental health blowback from their deployments. It's disturbing to me and to the President that hundreds, in fact thousands of veterans are having to travel to Mexico or other countries to experiment with interventions that hold great promise, but for which our knowledge is still insufficient. This executive order will remove the legal impediments that block American researchers, scientists, physicians, and clinicians from properly studying these medicines, and where appropriate, establishing protocols for their safe therapeutic use. We're directing the FDA to prioritize therapies that have received breakthrough therapy designation, treatments that early evidence suggests may improve what we have today. We're expanding the use of right to try so that eligible patients with treatment-resistant conditions can access these therapies under medical supervision. We're also coordinating with the DEA and the Department of Justice to begin rescheduling reviews after successful phase 3 trials. When the FDA determines that therapy is safe and effective, patients should not face avoidable delays in access. At the same time, HHS will work with states, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and other federal partners to strengthen research and share clinical data. We will use that data to support faster and evidence-based decisions. Through ARPA-H, HHS will allocate, as the President says, at least $50 million from existing funds to partner with states that are advancing these therapies. We will support those efforts with funding, with technical assistance and data sharing consistent with applicable law. Researchers at Johns Hopkins, Stanford, and Harvard, and other leading institutions have reported meaningful and, in some cases, extraordinary clinical improvements. If these results continue, these therapies could offer longer-lasting relief, not just symptom management, and reduce economic burden of mental illness, which costs this country hundreds of billions of dollars every year. This policy creates a strict, science-based pathway for FDA approval and controlled medical use. The bottom line is progress in mental health treatment has not matched the scale of the problem. I want to thank Joe Rogan for helping bring national attention to innovative, potentially life-saving treatments for veterans and others living with mental illness, and for pushing this conversation into the mainstream. I also want to thank Representative Morgan Luttrell from Texas and former Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell for their leadership on this issue. I also want to thank the CEO of Americans for Ibogaine, Brian Hubbard, and the organization's ambassador, former Navy SEAL Henry Berkowitz, and former SEAL Team 6, Rob O'Neill. And I want to thank a couple of people for getting this record time across the finish line, Callie Means and Dr. Heidi Overton. Thank you, Heidi, for your leadership and for your attention to detail. It is often frustrating, but always right. So thank you, and thank you above all, Mr. President.
And we'll return to the conclusion of that event in just a minute. And then we're going to also get to some of President Trump's Truth Social posts during this segment right now. Let's go to Kalshi first, kalshi.com/RSBN. A lot of different political trends out there, trending, really. At the end of the day, when it comes to the Save America Act, when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, people are putting money on the line right this second for it. And also, people are just checking out the polls, too. So you can do the same. There's 3 ways to get to Kalshi. So kalshi.com/RSBN. You see that QR code right there on your screen. And then also you can download the Kalshi app. So 3 ways to get to Kalshi. More than 1 million users on this site. This thing's growing. I mean, this is not going anywhere. Kalshi.com, a great sponsor here at Right Side. Kalshi.com/RSBN. Also, speaking of growing, Rumble Wallet as well. Specifically, I want to share with you some information about Rumble Wallet here. A number of people actually just started using Rumble Wallet and actually recently downloaded it in my app store as well. And if you've ever been curious about buying and investing in crypto, Bitcoin, stable coins, or even gold-backed stable coins, but felt like it was just too complicated, Rumble Wallet is an easy way to get started. You can buy, sell, and manage your cryptocurrencies all in one place, and the app is super straightforward. What really makes Rumble Wallet unique is that you can use it to tip various creators like our network and support the Freedom First community we've built here on Rumble. Getting started is simple. Just download the Rumble Wallet app, sign up with your existing Rumble account. No need for a new login. You just complete a few security steps, and then you're set up within minutes. You can start with just a few dollars, and with this new feature called MoonPay, built into Rumble Wallet, you can easily buy crypto using your credit card, debit card, or bank wire. So if you've been thinking about the advantages of crypto, you can download Rumble Wallet right now. Just click our link in the description or search Rumble Wallet in your app store. Download Rumble Wallet today and move your assets to where they belong, in your hands, in your control. Now, Rumble Wallet is a technology provider only and not a custodial service. You can see terms at wallet.rumble.com. But at least if you don't have Rumble Wallet on your phone right now, just go ahead to your app store when you get a chance and just type in Rumble Wallet, download it, peruse it, see what it's all about, because obviously a lot of things going this way when it comes to crypto and that kind of thing. So we'll see. We'll monitor it here at the network, how it all goes. 2:37 Monday, April 20th. As promised, let's go to President Trump's Truth Social post. As many of you are on Truth Social, I know there's a long one there, so we're going to read it together. I'm winning a war by a lot, President Trump says. Things are going very well. Our military has been amazing. And if you read the fake news like the failing New York Times or the absolutely horrendous and disgusting Wall Street Journal or the now almost defunct, fortunately, Washington Post, you would actually think we are losing the war. The president says the enemy is confused because they get these same media, quote unquote, reports, and yet they realize their Navy has been completely wiped out. Their Air Force has gone onto darker runways. They have no anti-missile or anti-airplane equipment. Their former leaders are mostly gone. In parentheses, the president says this has been in addition to everything else, regime change. And perhaps most important of all, the blockade, which we will not take off until there is a deal, is absolutely destroying Iran. They are losing $500 million a day, an unsustainable number, even in the short run. The president says the anti-America fake news media is rooting for Iran to win, but it's not going to happen because I'm in charge, the president says. He also says, just like these unpatriotic people used every ounce of their limited strength to fight me in the election, they continue to do so with Iran. The result will be the same. It already is. President Donald J. Trump. From 2:11 Eastern, let's go to 2:28 Eastern time. The president said, quote, the Iranian leadership has forced hundreds of ships toward the United States, mostly Texas, Louisiana, and Alaska, to get their oil. Thank you very much, President Donald J. Trump. Let's return to the White House from this weekend's executive order signing.
Thank you very much, Bobby. You're fantastic. Bobby's really done an amazing job. You know, MAHA, it's a big deal. And I want to thank you. You work so hard, Oz and everybody up here. And I just want to thank you. Great job. And he's somewhat outside of the box, would you say? And that we need outside of the box a little bit, right? Would you say, Oz? Marty, please.
Great. Thank you, Mr. President. Next week, the FDA will issue 3 national priority vouchers for serotonin 2A agonists, also known as psychedelics. Under this new program, in this administration, drugs can get approved in weeks, not a year or a year plus, but in weeks, if they are in line with our national priorities. We have 18 vouchers in the program. We'll be adding 3 more next week. This is an unmet public health need, and there are potentially promising treatments. That's why there's a sense of urgency around this. That's why we're doing it now. The applications are about to come in, so this is the natural, perfect timing for this announcement. For many men and women, they have been fighting battles on the ground. But even after the wars are over, those battles continue in their mind. Now, there are a lot of medications in medicine where we don't know exactly how it works, but we see profound results. If we actually listen to those who experience the therapeutic value, we can learn as a medical field. We just have to listen. The stories of those individuals with dramatic results, that is data. That is scientific data, even from a single individual. We also have randomized controlled trials. And we have to do that because we need to be able to say there's good support when we recommend these therapeutics. If you look at those trials, there's a 30 to 40% remission rate for conditions like PTSD. Otherwise, we got nothing. We have almost nothing for these conditions. And today, the FDA is also announcing the first ibogaine investigational new drug clearance. This will pave the way for the first and ever human trials in the United States. To be clear, the FDA will also have criteria and circumstances that have to be used to administer these drugs. These drugs can have side effects, and so it's not like you go to the pharmacy and pick it up. It's like medications that are administered in an ICU or an operating room. There are criteria for doing it in a controlled setting. Finally, given the urgency of today's mental health crisis, I just want to thank you, Mr. President, and say the FDA is proud to support this broader effort to evaluate new therapeutics for some of the greatest Americans we have in this country.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Doing a great job, too. Appreciate it. Marcus?
Yes, sir. To start off, Mr. President, thank you so much for having us in here and doing.
And we'll be going to Marcus in just a second here. Let's go to a few of our great sponsors as we continue our live broadcast here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. You see there, Plan Select. Are you getting all of the benefits that you deserve from your Medicare Advantage plan? Many people don't realize their plan may include valuable extras that can save them thousands of dollars every year. All you have to do is call 877-664-8133 now to see if you qualify. With the right Medicare Advantage plan, you can actually receive a gym membership at no cost to help you stay active and healthy. If you need a ride, many plans include transportation services with up to 60 rides per year to your doctor's appointments or pharmacy. Some plans also offer meal delivery programs with up to 28 meals delivered each year at no cost. It's perfect after a hospital stay or when you just need a little extra help. You may also qualify for an over-the-counter allowance of up to $800 per year for everyday essentials like vitamins, first aid kits, cold and flu medicine, dental hygiene products. And that's not all. Certain plans provide a grocery card with up to $3,600 per year to help pay for your healthy food and household essentials. All you have to do is call 877-664-8133 to see if you qualify. Licensed agents standing by, 877-664-8133. Let's also go to Tax Network USA. It's tax season, as you guys know, and there's a few questions that we have for you. Do you owe back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, or have you filed every year but still keep owing? Did you retire and suddenly get hit with a tax bill you didn't expect? Or are you a business owner with messy books and a balance you can't afford? Or maybe you pulled money from your 401k or IRA early and now the IRS wants its share. However your tax issues started, the outcome is the same. The balance just not going down. Penalties are growing. Interest compounds, and many of you are about to owe again for this upcoming tax year with no plan in place. I know this year is a little bit different, of course, with President Trump's working families tax cuts, but even with back taxes, you can stop what you're doing and call Tax Network USA because the IRS, they're just not waiting. The IRS is enforcing collections through wage garnishments, bank levies, and property seizures. They can even file for you without your consent. And this is where Tax Network USA comes in. With more than 15 years in business, there hasn't been a tax case they haven't seen or resolved. They specialize in tax controversies and help taxpayers nationwide get back on track by resolving back taxes and unfiled returns once and for all. So whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their team has resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. They can do the same for you, but you have to call now. And they're offering a free investigation call with the IRS. After that investigation, they put a clear case plan in place to resolve your tax problem and get you back on track. This is about using your legal rights to take control before the government sets the terms for you. So don't wait for another IRS letter or a frozen bank account. Call 877-479-6503. Again, that's 877-479-6503. Or you can visit tnusa.com/RSBN or click the link below wherever you're watching right now on right side. Earlier, Kentucky Representative James Comer said Congress is requesting information from NASA and the Department of War and other departments to find any missing links as to what happened to those 11 U.S. scientists who are dead or missing. That report moments ago on Fox. In the meantime, let's return to the White House from this weekend's executive order signing.
You're going to save a lot of lives with it. I'd like to say how grateful I am to have had the opportunity to go through the program and receive the ibogaine. It absolutely changed my life for the better. I went through a lot of the programs that the veterans are going through, and I always kind of felt like I was a victim coming out of the program. When I came out of this, I felt like I had gotten my life back. That was 5 years ago. I literally lived the best days of my life every single day. I'm so thankful for everybody who's in this room to help out with this. I know this is kind of a new frontier for us, and just the fact that we're taking this kind of slow as smooth as fast, and we're getting it in there so we can test this out so that we don't get ahead of ourselves. I think that's very impactful. I think there's a lot of people out there that need help, not only our veterans, but our civilian population that can benefit from this. And it's going to do great things for our country to get it back on track and open up a lot of doorways and pathways for us to be successful in the future. Thank you for your time.
That's fantastic. So you've done this 5 years?
Yes, sir.
And it's just been a whole different thing.
Every single day is a better day for me.
Wow, that's amazing, really.
I can vouch for that.
Come here, this guy's got guts. Come here. Come on, these guys. Two good guys. I didn't realize you were involved in it already. It's the best testament you can have. There's nothing better than that. A man who's really respected by everybody, and he's a fantastic person, Joe Rogan, to say a few words, please, Joe.
Well, I want to say that I'm here because of the man to my left. Brian Hubbard and former Texas Governor Rick Perry came on my podcast. They told me how impactful this medicine is. And having that conversation with them, millions of people got a chance to hear their story, hear the stories of all the different people that have had life-changing experiences from it. And I want Brian to be able to speak about this.
Good. Brian, please.
Thank you, sir.
I heard that, Joe. You have no trouble speaking. You have no trouble speaking.
I want to assure you that my presence here is the most concrete affirmation that God has a wonderful sense of humor. Thank you. Thank you. Federal prohibition of psychedelic medicine in America is over. On the 250th year, on the 250th year of our nation's founding, everyone who has fought for this day through decades of monumental struggle, sacrifice, and suffering can now declare a seminal victory for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Rights we bear as images of our eternal Creator, whose essence is almighty, eternal, unconditional love for each and every one of us. This is the end of the beginning. We have moved mountains, yet there are mountains to move. Government systems which have relentlessly suppressed psychedelics are the same systems which will now manage their emergence. We dare not let our guard down for 1 second and be hair trigger ready to impose accountability for incompetence, obstruction, or failure. Credit belongs where credit is due. With this executive order, President Trump has delivered an epic victory for all humanity. I thank him for having the courage to make this happen, and my mission brother, Joe Rogan, for having the spine to make the ask. To our brothers and sisters in Gabon, You have our deepest gratitude for your stewardship of the sacred tree grown for the healing of nations. I will do my best to deliver the respect and honor you deserve for helping heal this nation. It is my joy to deliver these good tidings unto the meek, which will hopefully bind up the brokenhearted, proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to all who are bound. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you.
I want to tell everybody how this happened. I sent President Trump some information. We have a gigantic opiate problem in this country, obviously. In 2024, more than 80,000 people died of overdoses. It's a horrible number. And there's more than 5 million people that are addicted to opiates right now in this country. With one dose of Ibogaine, more than 80% of people are free of that addiction. With 2 doses, it's more than 90%. I sent him that information. The text message came back, sounds great. Do you want FDA approval? Let's do it. It was literally that quick. These drugs are illegal not because they're harmful. They're illegal because of the 1970 Controlled Substances Act that was passed by the Richard Nixon administration. They did it to target the civil rights movement and the anti-war movement. It's not because these drugs harm people. And for 56 years, we've lived under those terrible conditions. We're free of that now. We're free of that now. Thanks to all these people that we see next to me, and thanks to President Trump.
All right, so there you go. You saw the podcaster Joe Rogan there. This was, of course, from Saturday morning. Kind of an interesting day, right, to have an event, but it is what it is. President Trump working through the weekend, as he does a lot of the times, whether it's in D.C. or down in Florida. Let's do this. Let's go over a few of our sponsors, and then we'll go to the conclusion of the event there. Specifically, All Family Pharmacy is one of our great sponsors as well. Have you ever gone to refill a prescription and suddenly it's delayed or out of stock? Or how about it's just more expensive than last time? Well, here's something that most people don't realize. More than 400 of the most common prescriptions for blood pressure or cholesterol, thyroid, diabetes, they're all available through All Family Pharmacy at great prices and shipped straight to your door. You don't need to worry about your insurance, no pharmacy lines, no hassles. And we've been recommending All Family Pharmacy for a reason. They've built really something different, an independent American pharmacy that actually works for the patient. They also carry medications like ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, and NAD+ that are hard to find anywhere else. The process is straightforward. If you already have a prescription, your doctor can send it directly to All Family Pharmacy. If you don't have a prescription, you fill out a quick online form on their website. A licensed doctor reviews it, and if appropriate, they provide the prescription and your medication ships to your door. It's simple and affordable. You don't have to wait until you need something. Just be prepared. By going to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, you see the information right there. Save 10% using the RSBN 10 promo code. Let's go to our next sponsor, Birch Gold Group. When the dollar's convertibility into gold ended in 1971, gold was fixed at $35 an ounce. If you fast forward to today, the U.S. dollar has lost over 85% of its purchasing power. Gold, on the other hand, has increased value by more than 12,000%. That's why central banks and others out there, they're buying gold at record levels. And here at RSBN, we encourage you to consider diversifying your savings with physical gold from Birch Gold Group. But this really all starts with education. Birch Gold just announced their Learn and Earn Precious Metals event. This free online event rewards you for learning the basics of investing in precious metals. So you can sign up to get free silver on your next purchase. You get even larger incentives as you go. The more you learn, the more you can earn. But you must act now, as this special event only goes for another 10 days, so until April 30th. The dollar lost its anchor in 1971. You don't have to lose yours. Just text the word Trump to the number 989898 to join Birch Gold's Learn and Earn Precious Metals event by April 30th. Text Trump to 989898 today. All right, it's 2:55, Monday, April 20th. We've gone over a number of news stories since the beginning of our broadcast at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Let's go to the White House one more time here and wrap it up with this executive order from Saturday morning.
I want to thank you. We all respect Joe, and he's a little bit more liberal than. That's okay. I have a lot of friends that are liberal, but Joe is an amazing guy, and he wrote me a little note about this, and I had it checked out. I didn't just do it. I had it checked out. I went to Bobby and Oz. I went to some of the people that work for you, real pros, and everybody came back with the same answer. You know, normally they'll come back, because this happens a lot. I have a couple of them like that, where they're not sure. It's like, you know, it goes two ways. This thing, everybody thought it was incredible. And I told Bobby, I said, Bobby, let's just do it and get Oz involved, and it's going to get done so quickly. And you guys did a great job. Would you like to say something else?
Mr. President, I want to thank Matt Zorin, who's hiding in the back there, who actually on Sunday wrote a draft for this. You already thanked Heidi and Kelly, but you know, Susie Wiles makes everything run here. This was an unimaginable task in 1 week to be able to go from a series of connections and communications with Joe Rogan through the honey badger of them all, Bobby Kennedy, who said, we're not going to stop. We didn't start calling everyone down the bike. Steph Spear's been involved, and Chris Klump, who's been doing a fantastic job helping run everything in great efficiency, made something. I just want to emphasize this. This is an entire paradigm shift away from a one-day-a-pill model, which has failed so many. And to the many who are drug resistant that Joe just spoke to, this offers them a way of getting out of that rut. The question now is, can we study why it works to understand it better, to use it better? That's what Jay Bhattacharya is going to do at NIH with major funding support, perhaps some ARPA as well. Marty spoke eloquently about the FDA's accelerated pathway for this. And then we're going to, when we learn more, figure out better ways of getting access to these products through our healthcare system. This is an extraordinarily exciting day, and it would never happen if the president just would not take no for an answer. He called on the way Joe to the fight on Saturday, and I think he was as determined to get this done as the men in those rings and women in those rings that night. Thank you, sir.
They are determined.
I want to thank Professor Nolan Williams. When I was a professor at Stanford, I got to know him, and he taught me about ibogaine and all the promise that it has for treatment-resistant depression and so many other conditions. Frankly, for me, I learned a lot. Unfortunately, he passed away last year. I want to thank this amazing team that just moved heaven and earth to get things done. I do want to emphasize this is something that we're still studying, and we have to keep studying. We have to figure out the right way to like make sure we administer it, that it's safe, that we don't just take it for granted. We already know everything, because we don't. And for the NIH and for ARPA-H, we are absolutely committed to making sure that we keep studying it, keep getting the best gold standard science on it. You see here Nora Volkow, who's my National Institute of Drug Abuse director. She's been an absolute hero in just developing scientific, so the commitment for American science to focus on this, and in many ways, it's that scientific advance that brought us to this moment. So thank you, President Trump.
But if it's good, we want to get it fully approved fast, right?
I mean, for the things that have great evidence, and that's what
you know, these studies, they go on for a long time, and if it's good, I mean, I have a witness right here. These two incredible brothers. That to me is a study, right?
I mean, it's just as Commissioner McCary said, there's stuff that we know and we can tell it works. We still got to figure out sometimes how it works or why it works. That we got to keep doing even as we move forward fast.
But it does work.
Some of those, I mean, absolutely, some of those treatments absolutely work.
Yes, it works.
Here,
it works.
I'm trying to get the answer because it either works or it doesn't. I would think that there's been a lot of research already, indirect research, maybe the ultimate research, people that have taken it, because I've spoken to people that have taken it, aside from the trail, both of them. I've spoken to 5 people that had big problems.
I've done it 3 times.
Yeah,
it works. It fixed my demonic relationship.
This is Rob O'Neill, who's a friend of mine and a great guy. Go ahead.
It fixed my demonic relationship with alcohol. It saved my life, and then it saved my wife. So every day's a blessing. It took about 3 years of. I did it 3 times. It's a different adventure every time. That's not fun.
So without it, you would have had problems.
I did it with. There was a Green Beret, 28-year sergeant major, that told me when we finished, make sure you tell Amber Capone, the CEO of Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions, that she saved my life because I was going to kill myself next week. This was my last chance. I had a 28-year veteran tell me that. This works.
Okay, good.
Mr. President,
yes.
you asked Marcus to speak about his experience.
Thank you, Secretary. Yeah, Mr. President, what Robin Neal's talking about, my wife, Amber Capone, is the CEO of our charity Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions. We had prayed for this day to come 10 years ago when we started the charity. We've been sending veterans outside the country, Joe, that you've been talking about for years, several thousand now, and we said the mission will end once this day happens, so we believe this is a huge step in maybe that the mission goes away, and now we have affordable access right here in the U.S.
Why didn't they get it done?
We're getting it done, right? You're getting it done.
Yeah. Why yet other presidents looking at it, right? Why didn't they get it done?
I think we needed you.
That's my job. I can answer that question, sir.
Go ahead, please.
There's a small group of us in the House that have been trying to move legislation since I showed up. Mr. Correa, Mr. Bergman, Mr. McCall, Mr. Crenshaw, every year have tried to move legislation. That side of the room is not going to like what I have to say about this. And every year it has all fallen short. Every year it has all fallen short. And it's because of the proverbial roadblocks that were always in the way.
Right. That's right.
Okay, fair assessment. But those members and myself were convicted never to give up, ever. And with this executive order, I'm going to maintain composure, Mr. President. With this executive order, you have broken down those barriers and allowed us, I have all the faith in the world that this will codify and remain forever. So thank you very much for taking care of your service members and your veterans and giving the members that have been working on this for so long a chance. Thank you, sir.
Well, this, when I sign this does solve it for the 3 year, but we'll get that codified very easily.
Absolutely.
Once I sign it, we get them codified. So we'll make it permanent. I have no doubt it's going to be working. Would anybody else like to say something? These two women are so talented.
Well, I love an executive order that says research, 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 because it's ultimately what guides us on to how to optimally do things. And
That's
I think
right.
that this is what hopefully will start to happen, and bringing up change in a system that has been very difficult to modify because of prior experiences. These drugs have unique characteristics that could actually, if we don't investigate them, can bring us into potential applications that currently we're not thinking about. But if we close the door to science, if we close the door to data, we'll just keep on doing the same thing again and again.
Do you think the door was closed?
It was hard.
Yes.
It was hard to do research.
It's very, very hard. And it's actually just by scheduling as a one, it makes it very
So
difficult.
this is a big move then. It's going to have
It will facilitate
bigger than
research.
just this one thing that we're talking about.
Yes.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad we didn't waste a Saturday morning. Unusual, huh? Please.
Yes, Mr. President, this is a much needed, bold move for precision mental health for our veterans and others, and accelerates access to personalized targeted treatments. As you have heard, many veterans and others experiencing mental health disorders, they go through up to years of trial and error, trying one treatment that doesn't work, trying another and not knowing why. My work at Stanford and with my colleagues is to develop brain-based tests that can be measured right now in our VA and other locations that help us understand why these new treatments work and who they'll be most effective for. So with your mandate, we are in a position to really accelerate saving lives of many more people and getting them well sooner. And I believe that with this, the United States will be the first country in the world to treat mental health like we do cancer and like we do many other chronic mental illnesses.
We know the world is... The world is actually watching this because there are a lot of countries that want to do this and they haven't been able to. They're going to be following suit very, very strongly. Thank you very much, both. Anybody else? You guys okay? Everybody? Let's sign it, right? To say something?
Mr. President, thank you. This treatment saved my life as well, and so many fellow veterans. Helped me get off opiates, stop using a nerve stimulator I had implanted, sleep for the first time in over 10 years. So thank you.
And you have no doubt, right?
Zero.
Well, to me, that's the best research of all, frankly.
Absolutely.
Okay, it's my honor.
you go. The executive order signing from Saturday morning. You saw that maybe right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, of course, as we aired that. And that's the thing. We are always airing things, whether it's live or just uploaded shortly thereafter. What's going on, of course, in Washington, D.C. So let's go to a couple of our sponsors before we wrap up our broadcast. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Of course, the warehouse moving sale is still ongoing. Save up to 80% on a ton of products on MyPillow.com, including my coffee. Good stuff here, along with the pillows, the sheets, all the things. MyPillow.com/RSBN. The great Mike Lindell, of course, running for governor in Minnesota. Let's go to an opportunity if you'd like to donate to Right Side as we continue to grow and expand here. RSB Network. So RSBNetwork.com/donate is the place to go. We also have a snail mail address for you for those that like to send a check or cash or money order, that kind of thing. Number of donors are doing that here at Right Side and have done so for years. So a shout out to those of you that have done that over the years and continue to. 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. So it's 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. Thank you so much for supporting RSBN as we continue to cover the news inside the Beltway, outside the Beltway, and we'll see what happens this week. I'm sure there's plenty that'll be happening, especially with President Trump in the White House. So always seeing various events that we've covered over the past year plus of President Trump's second administration. For all of us here at Right Side, I'm Matthew Alvarez. If there's any breaking news or developing news, we'll be right here waiting for you to share with you what's going on. Thank you so much.